Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel, guys. Today we're just going to be doing a quick wax vlog update.
You might slip, you might slide, you might stumble and fall by the roadside, but don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Well, we're walking up to heaven, don't let nobody turn you around. Walk with the rich, walk with the poor, learn from everyone, that's what life is for, but don't you ever let nobody.
Okay guys, welcome back, good to see you again. So today we're going to be doing an update on where we are with the Forensic Formula wax, okay? And it was really nice to get that old kind of blues music going again that I used throughout the series, and kind of brought back a few memories for me of where we started many months ago, kind of with these wax blends. So we left the wax series kind of, we left it saying that every now and then I'd do a quick update just to let you know where I'm going. And I think our last wax brew that we did was kind of like a Forensic Formula 17 or something like that, where I was trying to balance the blend out and started talking about going down the road of synthetic additives, because I'd come to the realization quite quickly that just doing a natural wax blend was cool, and you can do lots of good stuff with it, and you know, it's fun, but there's kind of like performance limitations. So the last kind of few months I've been like experimenting with the types of additives that I can put into the wax to try and increase a lot of the characteristics, and there's various characteristics you can use from various products. So the one thing that stood out for me with doing these kind of wax mega tests and playing around with lots of other products and just looking at other products generally, is that most of the performance waxes are using, well, they're all the performance waxes are using forms of synthetic additives, you know, polymers, whatever they call them. They all describe them slightly differently, but it's getting out of the territory of organic chemistry, where you're playing with organic kind of materials, and going into the synthetic polymer kind of chemistry, where you're looking at synthetic products or materials to use in the wax. So a synthetic material that I was really interested in was forms of PTFE, and that's one thing that I've been exploring for a while now, looking for a form of PTFE or fluoropolymer that I could put into my wax to try and maximize that non-stick, slip, high contact angle to water characteristic that I see in Fuso and a lot of other waxes that are using some form of fluoropolymer additive, you know, a form of PTFE if you like. Just World War II overhead. As long as it don't crash in my garage, I'm fine. So we started messing around with synthetic additives to improve performance, forms of silicone primarily. You know, products from the chemical suppliers that are out there that you can go and find, you can reach out to for samples, and some of them will give them to you, some of them you have to go and buy them, and you can play around with the samples of these products and see if they can deliver what you like. So we went through a whole range of doing that throughout the Forensic Formula kind of, God knows where, 19 up to this one, Forensic Formula 230. The Forensic Formula 230 was a light bulb moment for me, because the light bulb moment was there was something that was destroying, or not destroying, but dampening all of the performance qualities of the wax. And it was at this point when it kind of, I worked out that it's basically the organic carrier oils that I was using. The organic carrier oils were destroying a lot of the properties of the raw waxes, the characteristics that the raw waxes were giving you, but they were also affecting the properties that the synthetic additives were giving me. Okay, so from that point onwards, from 230 onwards, I've gone away from using organic carrier oils, your almond oils, your coconut oils and things like that, because for me, I know they do provide gloss, and they do work in terms of making the wax more transportable to help with application and removal, but they dampen performance quite a lot, okay, in my opinion, which isn't an expert opinion, but it, you know, I've got to trust it. So I've moved away from that. So Forensic Formula 230 was the first formula I was able to create that was giving me a much more noticeable level of gloss, a much improved level of water and oil repellency, and very, very, very long durability, okay? So I was testing the durability of this wax against products that claim long durabilities, to the 6 to 12 month products, and products which actually I knew delivered that durability. And this wax ticked the durability box, okay? So I'm able to put the durability into a synthetic wax product now, which was a big step forward from moving on from just making kind of organic, kind of natural waxes. So that was a big step on from just making those kind of natural wax blends, and even natural wax blends with synthetic carriers and some normal carriers, or organic carriers, and solvents. So we're now able to deliver that with synthetics additives to improve kind of gloss and kind of the surface kind of characteristics, if you like, and to smooth the slip finish. Everything was looking good, but there were problems with this, and the main problem was because it was offering this really good durability. Okay, it lasts. I think you'd get over 9 months out of this, I think, although I haven't hit that point yet, but it's still on a panel outside and still going strong. The problems are around application and removal. Okay, it makes the product a lot stickier and grabbier to get off the panel, to the point where I don't want that. You know, I don't want it to be a difficult product to use. In fact, it's critical. So that was the main thing. Also the water and oil repellency of this, although it was good, it was actually more getting a lot of those characteristics from using a high amount of a certain carrier wax that provides that. And there's some disadvantages in the balancing act of using that wax too much in abundance to some other characteristics. So I came to the conclusion that the path I was going on with this wax wasn't going to take me anywhere, although I'd learnt one big thing, that we have a mechanism for making the wax last a long time now, which is cool. So that's 230. So our next iteration, or kind of set of waxes, was the Forensic Formula 240, okay? And this was the first wax where I've tried to use a form of PTFE in the wax, okay? Now, it's blended into the wax fine. You would never, if I get that in focus, you'd never really know that there was something in there beyond the normal wax. The wax is about the right kind of softness. It's a little bit heavy on the synthetic carrier, which is giving it quite a lot of shiny kind of greasiness, if you like. But greasy is not the right word, but it's very, you can see the carrier kind of almost oozing out of the wax when you work it, which is kind of quite good actually. But I'd probably look to lower that down, but it's fine for just where I am testing it. Now, I've had this wax up on test panels against a few other forms of PTFE wax. The first thing I noticed when I lay this wax out, the other forms of wax which have PTFE, which included Fuso and about 3 others that don't offer the durability of Fuso. The one thing I noticed with all the PTFE waxes, when they dry, you get that white powdery haze, okay? And there's a reason for that. And if you're doing this, making this, you'll know why the reason is. It's part of what the product is. So I could see straight away with 240 that when it was drying, the amount of that kind of residue there was a lot less than those other products, and it just told me straight away. It told me straight away that I wasn't using enough. Although, funnily enough, the performance of this seems really good, and I'm backing up the performance of the PTFE with the trying to back it up or complement it with the type of wax blend again. So we're going more with those waxes which are going to promote that kind of water behaviour, but hopefully without sacrificing gloss, which is another kind of important thing. But anyway, Forensic Formula 240, the first iteration of the PTFE wax, works great. Okay, it's got additives to provide good durability. It's not loaded up with those additives enough that application and removal becomes a problem, so it's very easy to work with. But I'm trying, the aim of these waxes is to look at all these performance kind of criteria of all the top ones and get kind of like top marks, if you like, in every single area. So we know our friend over there, Mr. Fuso, is kind of like as good as it goes, good as it gets when it comes to, you know, kind of water and oil repellency and durability, but it doesn't get top marks on application and removal. It doesn't get top marks on gloss. So I'm trying to develop something that gives you all the gloss, is easy to use and remove, and gives you that kind of extreme water repellency and beading, and lasts a long time. So I'm trying to do everything as best I can, and the only way I can do that is to pitch it up against all these other waxes that are good, you know, in terms of performance, and just try and prove to myself that I can outperform in those areas, which isn't impossible to do, although we'll talk a little bit more about some things, some roads that I need to go down and some equipment I need to get to help me do it a bit more professionally, you know. It's a quick kit, I'm just making a note of that. So that's Forensic Formula 240. Easy to use, very hydrophobic, good durability, but not reliant, but not containing enough of the PTFE additive compared to the other products there. And I think over time that will affect the kind of those water and oil repellency characteristics. So we moved on to another one. So within the 240 iteration, we've moved on to 241, okay, where I literally took the amount of the additive, the PTFE fluoropolymer additive, and doubled it, okay, up into ludicrous volumes. And straight away what I can see with this now is the repellency characteristics are up there. For the first time, when I was back at 230, I was getting great water repellency, good beads that were just standing right up, you know, beyond that kind of 90-degree contact angle where the bead's almost starting to bulge over on itself. And that was mainly because of the high paraffin blend within the wax. Now the blend of this is slightly more normalised, not so high on the paraffin, because I don't want to be reliant on the paraffin. I just want the paraffin to kind of enhance it a little bit. So the paraffin's lower, but with this particular blend now, with the level of PTFE, when I put it out on a panel and I see the dry or the curing occur, the amount of residue looks a bit more consistent with the products that I know that are using tons of it. So I think I've learned, I don't know if I've hit the sweet spot with the amount I've got to use, but I've learned that I needed to use a little bit more throughout those two blends. So that was a positive with this wax. A negative with this wax is, again, because I'm using a synthetic additive to lock it in and provide the kind of durability. Since using more of this, it's really thick. What you see with some of the other waxes that give good durability, they dry to what I call like a hard crust. Even, yeah, it is a bit like a crust, a little thin crust which you kind of scoop off. And the better the wax, the easier that little hard, thin crust scoops off. You want it to scoop off really lightly. With Fuso, it goes hard and you scoop it off. It takes a little bit of effort, you know, it gets a bit of stick for being hard to remove, but it's manageable as long as you keep the layer thin. This was harder to remove than Fuso. It wasn't drying to a crust. It was drying more to something. Saying this isn't really adequate, but it will give you an idea. Something more like a kind of treacle. So it there was that resistance and that stickiness when you're taking it off, and that's not acceptable. So we can't roll with that. And I've seen that stickiness in a lot of waxes actually. So this is something. These are problems I think that people that are doing this and making this have to try and solve. So you know, this isn't finished yet. This could take years to get where it needs to be. But every time we tweak the formula, we're just learning something, and we're taking a step towards our end goal of getting a product which can give us 5 stars in all of those little categories, and that's the name of the game for me anyway. If I can't get it, then that's it. I just keep going. You know, failure is not an option, okay? So there are 3 things really that I need to explore to get 241 to where it needs to be. One is looking and researching for another form of wetting agent that's going to help with the dispersion of the product, and it's also going to help with the removal of the product. The application is okay, but the removal, so I need to make it less grabby basically. The next thing I need to explore is a kind of enemy that I thought we had conquered, and that is the solvents. And I've been sticking with a particular blend of solvents for a while now, and they're good, and that's probably why I've been sticking with this particular blend and just tweaking it slightly. But I think I need to explore solvents which are faster vaping again, just so that this wax isn't one of those ones where you have to put it down and leave it for ages before you can kind of buff it off. So you really, 10 minutes seems to be the benchmark, but ideally if you even get quicker than that, I think that would be nice. So that's something I'm looking at. The third thing I'm exploring now is because I'm using this fluoropolymer additive to try and provide me those kind of non-slip water and oil repellency characteristics. I am looking at I'm less reliant on the wax doing that, okay? So I'm looking at actually moving away now from using natural waxes and look at using synthetic waxes, okay? But there's one grey area for me, or there's one area that I want to make sure I don't mess up on, and that is I think using carnauba and montan waxes in wax blends gives a certain type of gloss that no matter what a lab gloss reading meter tells me, that when I see waxes that are high in those particular ingredients, especially like the high Nuba ones, like R222 being a great example of it, the experience is that the cars look fantastic with it on, even though the gloss meter might say that it doesn't make any difference. So I think there is something in the fact that natural carnauba is a good additive to put in waxes, and the fact that the product which seemed to win the gloss test was running 30% carnauba by overall volume or by weight or whatever. So to summarise, even though we've taken a good step forward with 241, well, we say a good step forward, even though we're on track again and we've got a pathway to go down, I have issues around or questions around the wax choices again that I should be using with this additive, and whether synthetic is going to be perhaps a better way to go. I have questions around additives now that are going to help with removal of the product, okay, because that's a problem. And I have questions around additives that are going to make this particular ingredient easier to disperse. And I have questions around solvents. So really, there's, and that's virtually every area of the wax, so there's a ton left to do. Even though we're making good steps forward, there's a ton of problems still to solve, and those problems are with virtually every area of the ingredients, so there's a long way to go still. So there will be some more periodic updates, every few months on just where we are. But the main thing, the big step forward, is we can deliver the performance. We can match the performance of the big hitting waxes. But at the moment, I'm doing it in a bit of a brutal way, so I need more. I need to keep tweaking the formulation till I can match the performance, but have a wax that's really good to work with and use. It's not going to cause any problems that way. But also, you know, is a very good wax on the gloss meter, and with the gloss that you see from when you apply it, you know, the real life gloss, if you like. So tons to do. What I also need to do is I need to invest in more equipment. I need really to get myself some proper consistent flat panels which I can play around with a little bit more, that I can place them at certain angles out in the environment and see. I also need to go ahead and get some proper test panels like Auto Glim had. I need to get some of those fabricated rather than using scrap wing panels which are all different. I need consistent panels that I can use to actually measure things a little bit more accurately and get them on almost like on a sort of bench outside, and hook them in, clamp them in, and then replace those panels and test them a bit more. These wings are they're too inconsistent, and it's too hard to put products up against each other when they're not the same sort of same surface, if you like. So that's going to happen. We probably also need to invest in a gloss meter, so that's something I've been looking at. But those things, there are some cheap options out there, but those cheap options look a bit cheap to me. So I'm trying to find out if there's a cheaper option which is still as reliable, you know, and accurate enough. And I'm looking for a tri-band one as well that has the 3 different angles, and that ups the price a lot as well. So that the search for the gloss meter continues. So we've taken a big step forward with the latest kind of formula, the 241 formula. But as you take that step forward, it opens a whole new load of doors of problems that need to be solved. And so yeah, there's a long way to go really, although we're slowly kind of moving in the right direction, which is kind of cool. So I just wanted to touch bases with you, tell you what's going on with the waxes, and leave it at that. So there should be another brand review coming very soon on the channel, so if anyone's got any guesses on what that can be, you can contact me on the Forensics Detailing channel on Facebook as well, where I keep a more regular update going on of what's going on with the channel. So as always guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Lay your guns down, boy, or I will lay you down.